Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 3 versus 3 on Pointe du Hoc, and in this one I'm going to be playing with the 2nd Armoured French Division. This is the third of a few games that I played with Val and Haymaker, and today they're going to be playing with the 15th Infantry Scots and the 1st SSB. We're going to be playing against Laxalot, Cobra and Panzer Pioneer, who are using the 12th SS Panzer, 716th Infantry, and the 3rd Fallschirmjäger respectively. So the idea in this one was that I would take the left side. The left side of this map from this perspective is the most open area that you can push into, so it made sense that I went on that side with my armoured division. In the centre we're going to be having Val, I think. Actually, no, Val was on the right side, and then Haymaker would be covering the mid, because myself and Val put down attack markers showing where we would sort of put our troops up to from the edge of the map, which gave Haymaker a decent idea of where he would have to go in the mid. And even if you're playing in like a random game, I would always recommend that you make it pretty clear what sort of ground you're going to cover with your own troops, because then your teammates won't get confused and will hopefully cover the rest of the map for you, which allows you not to have to worry so much about focusing elsewhere throughout the game. And that's probably the thing that I love the most about playing with like Haymaker and Val. I can rely on them to sort of do their own part, which means that I don't necessarily have to focus on multiple parts of the map at the same time. And I think it's also nice for you guys to watch as well in some ways, because although the games may be quicker or the games may be what some people call one-sided, I feel like it gives us an opportunity to mess around with like different strategies that I often wouldn't use, and I feel comfortable using different divisions that I maybe not as normally as comfortable like using. So like if I jump into a game with a bunch of randoms, often I'll like to play divisions that I'm comfortable with, because then I know that if my teammates for whatever reason aren't that good, then I can cover those players as well with that division. However, divisions like the 2nd Armoured, for example, and I think another good example is the 1st SSB, I kind of need to I kind of require like other competent players in order to play those divisions properly, because it requires a lot more concentration dealing with a division that I'm not particularly keen on. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But here's my force down here. I've got 3 units of Spey to start off with, loads of recon there. Got a couple of squads of Nueva with one of the command units there, command infantry. Then I have a squad of voltages. We've got the M8 Spey with the M3A3 Stuart. Then another unit of Nueva and another command infantry. And the idea of all of these is just to sort of spread out between these two areas. I'm going to have a Nueva and a command infantry here. Then I'm going to have 2 Nueva in these orchards supported by the command infantry. And then on the left side of the orchard I'm going to have the Stuart and the M8 in order to cover this area. Then I've got the voltages who are going to go all the way down this back road and hopefully cover off the left side of the map and give us a little bit of ground there. So that was the plan moving forwards. Haymaker's busy getting down the rest of his forces, and Val's going to be leading the charge with a bunch of those commando tank busters. So off we go. Now if I show you guys my orders, you can see is exactly what I said. My recon here is spread out quite nicely actually. This one's going to be heading to this building. Gives us quite a good line of sight further up the field there. We've got this one that's going to be hiding into the tree line, checking the other side of this road. And this one on the far left is going to be able to sneak up through this tree line and just cover the entire left side. So that's what I was hoping for. And we actually get off to a pretty slow start. There wasn't too much going on. Nobody really butted heads with anyone at the start of the game. And Val actually managed to get pretty damn deep into the town onto the right side. So that was nice for him. His 3-inch mortars here able to absolutely pound these Panzergrenadiers to pieces. Now generally this town's a lot more contested, so it was a surprise that Salaxolot gave that away. You can see we are only at the 51% territory at the start, which is nice to see. I mean, it's always good when you go into a game and it's not completely one-sided from the start, and this definitely wasn't one of those. It took a lot of work to produce like a battle that was in our favour. But the Nueva here, quite simply just having them sit on the other side of this tree line, so if anything comes through we can absolutely hammer them from the ideal range, which will get pretty much all of our HE on target with 3-star veterancy. So we can get like at least 8 HE on target from that range. If they're 100-meter range, then it's like 10 HE. So either way, Nueva are going to be doing a good job no matter what comes through here. Like if Bolshevik run through here, they've only actually got 6 HE at close range because they can't fire their MG34s at 100-meter range. But yeah, I need to figure out a way to get through here, and basically what it's relying on at the moment is my recon moving forwards. So we have this recon currently revealing the Aufklärer moving forwards. I've got this Spey on the left side doing the job, and we got the Spey on the right doing the job. But I have 2 mortars on the way, and hopefully these can help me dislodge a few AT guns and then build up a little push to move on through, because there you go, Pack 37 revealing itself. We've got the Pack 41 Gerlich in the mid, we've got an LG40 here. And last thing I want to do is kind of suicide my M8 Spey and the M3A3 into those units. So I need to take them out with the mortar first, and that's exactly what I'm starting to bring in here. Haymaker's going to be relying quite a lot on these Bren Group. I don't really rate Bren Group that much still. So surprised to see him use those. But Commando Tank Busters there actually hitting their target, and that's definitely a surprise. But are going to be wrecked close after by the Panzer Grenadiers MGs and the Panzer II's 20mm autocannon. So now we need to focus on this left side, because my mortars throughout this game were absolutely savage. First of all, we're going to be attacking the LG40. I've also got the 81mm mortar there retargeting onto the Fallschirmjägers that are approaching my Nueva. Now these Nueva at this range, perfect range to engage the Fallschirmjägers again. Look, they're not using the MG34, 100-meter range, and with a mortar shell landing on target, we actually get the instant surrender, which was absolutely insane. Now we're taking down the LG40 to 1 health. Meanwhile, all of this infantry is kind of distracted by the voltages. Like Cobra really trying to push forwards, but again, mortar shell going to be coming down there, stopping the Osttruppen in their tracks. So that was quite nice indeed. And I'm also going to get my other mortar on target to help out as well. Just don't want them to break through and put pressure onto the M8. They could obviously come through here and attack the Nueva, but the Nueva would keep them back. But just allowing the mortars to do the job, and obviously at the start they don't have their own mortars to counter batteries, so I'm taking advantage of that for as long as I can, because I know that basically if they're a decent opponent, they're eventually going to be bringing in some counter battery to deal with these mortars, or some form of airstrike. So I've just got to basically take advantage of this before like a couple of minutes pass and they bring in something to counter. So taking out the LG there, getting a nice direct shot onto the Pack 41 as well. And this is the beauty of having arty like this, or yeah, well, mortars. They're going to be destroying these static units left, right and centre, mainly thanks to the recon. And you want to make sure you do have the recon in order to spot this stuff in the first place. Now Spey there are on return fire, and they were spotted briefly by the Speed Troop. I'm surprised that they didn't engage, but Speed Troop just told to run in the opposite direction. And mortars still being microed, taking out the Pack 37 there on the left side, targeting the MG34 as well. That's currently being hammered by the M3A3. So with that pack dead on the left side and the 2 units dead on the right side, I'm moving through with the half track at the moment, and I'm moving some voltages over to the right side. I need to deal with this 20mm anti-aircraft, so what I chose to do was send over my M5A1 half tracks. Because these M5A1 half tracks, they actually have the 50 cals, and when they're like 3-star or even 2-star, they do a lot of damage very quickly. So I'm hoping to do that onto the 20mm and get rid of it, which will allow Haymaker to make a little bit more ground. Some mortars still firing away. One thing that I actually suffer with the Second Armoured French, something I haven't mentioned yet, is I don't actually have any supply in Phase A. So using mortars is actually pretty risky, because if you don't get a lot of kills with them and you don't get some accurate shots, they kind of become wasted pretty easily. Now, of course, I do have supply in Phase B, but that's a long wait from this point. That's like 3 minutes, and you can see these mortars are down to like 2 shells. So I'm targeting what I feel are the most important units, get rid of these MGs, and the Osttroop, are pretty easy to kill by my M8 Spy, so that's absolutely fine by me. These M5A1 half-tracks absolutely savage the Fallschirmjägers there. They also do a lot of damage to the MG and take that out as well. And now they're pretty much free to move over and try and take care of this Flak 88. They do have the target to move over there. Now this pack, 41 Gerlich, actually ends up bailing out one of my M5A1s, which was rather sad to start. But we've got the half-track there on target. And down on this left side, my M10 has just come up and taken out one of the Panzer B1s, or Panzer B2. Now there's a Pak 37 rolling over to try and take out my M10, so going to have to be a little bit careful about that. I have moved up a couple of these AT guns, snuck them through the orchards here. The idea being that they will basically kill any sort of armoured reinforcements that they bring in. Now I decided to engage the Pak 37 here with the M10 and the M3A3, just because I knew that the M10 could probably tank a shot from the Pak 37 at max range. But what ended up happening was there was another Pak 37 further back that killed off my M8 Spy as it came around the corner. Now this 57mm cannon takes out a Kubel MG there. Tracks are still broken here on this M5A1 after it was bailed out, so the Pak 41 Gerlich there just having a load of fun killing that off. The 20mm AA was actually moved away from this tree line, so not actually going to be picking up that kill just yet. And now we see a couple of Panzer L6s on the way, which are the perfect counter to these half-tracks. So I managed to take out one of the Pak 37s on the left. Trying to move forwards the Spy to give me more information, but they're going to get mowed down by the MG32. And I'm going to be using the last of my 81mm mortar shells to just try and smoke off that AT gun for now, as a couple of Lorraines have now been brought in by Cobra, and I'm assuming that these were to sort of counter battery my mortars. So as soon as I see them, you're going to see me start to split my mortars here and get them out of their initial positions. Also going to be adjusting the Nueva as well, because Lorraines can do a lot of damage. They have 27 HE, and if they get on target, it's going to be not very nice indeed. So moving over my M3A3 and the M5A1 with the M10 actually to come over and kill the Panzer L6s now. All of my M5A1 half-tracks got killed off due to the L6s, so just need something there with a bit more punching power to take those out. I'm not too worried about like anything else necessarily. I just don't want to engage these L6s from close range, so you'll see me be quite careful here in how I approach this. Now meanwhile, Haymaker is making a little bit of ground in the mid with his honeys, using the hedgerows to his advantage there, and with Val controlling this town, he's actually pushed past it to this tree line, which is actually quite hard to push through next. But 54% territory lead in our favour now. Not massive, but enough to give us that bleed of points, which is good. We've now moved into Phase B as well, so that allows me to finally bring up some supplies, so the GMC now arriving. I've also got the M4A3 and an M10 on the way to join my tanks. So an L6 does move over. I believe that was coming to reinforce, went into line of sight of my tanks and got destroyed. But now you can see that the Pak 41 is coming over. They're moving the L6 away, so back over to the left side it is. We've managed to sort of stop them from pushing here. And now we can go back to the left side where I want to push. I'm not entirely sure what this M10 was doing, as I was trying to get it to fast move down the road, and it does eventually. I've got this cannon now in position, the AT gun, 57mm. Should hopefully deal with any future L6s that appear on that right flank of mine. Now you may think that I actually didn't unload these units and had them there sort of AFK on like by accident, but this was actually on purpose. I didn't want to unload these infantry because I wanted to keep them in there for when I made a push with all of these new tanks that I have coming. So you can see the M10, for example, over here is on his way over. And I've got a new M10 and I've got the M4A3, and that combination of forces I'm going to attempt to push through any remaining AT guns and then basically push through with the infantry that I have here. Now this kind of gets stopped in its tracks when an HS-129 comes up and absolutely slams one of my Stuarts. Val does get onto the back of it with the C-Fire, but the C-Fire there just too fast for its own good and doesn't manage to get the kill this time round. So one Stuart going down to the HS-129, and considering I haven't invested in any AA yet, I'm going to have to be very careful, and that is going to obviously delay my push. But here comes one of the Bofors, and here comes the second. Going to be bringing in those in order to deal with the HS-129s because, like I said, otherwise I'm delayed for a very long time. Now thankfully, due to my GMC coming up, I have managed to reload these mortars, which does allow me to target priority targets again. You can see they're hitting both the Flak-Villing and the MG34 there. The Lorraines do have their own targets, however I know that these Lorraines are pretty much here in order to counter battery my mortars. So I've got to kind of play around that, and I am going to be moving them pretty much after every time I fire them, unless I've already counter batteried their Lorraines myself. I've also got this M21 mortar coming up, and that's quite simply here so that it can take a little bit of punishment. A 27 HE shot shouldn't blow up an M21 mortar carrier unless it gets a direct shot, which makes it a lot more resilient. M10s and the M4A3 going to be hitting the MG34 there quite nicely. The AT gun here going to get smoked off, and we are going to see another HS-129 come in to try and get the M10, but after bouncing a couple of shots and missing the rest, there's no way that I'm letting that one get out alive. I bring in the Spitfire, Val brings in his C-Fire, and we shoot it down. Job done. So that's what we were looking for there. I'm now actually counter-battering their Lorraines. They were initially firing at where I had my mortars, but now I've moved them and I'm firing back, and that's going to force them to move their Lorraines. But with this 88 showing itself, I've got to take that out. You can't let 88s hang around for too long. So all mortars, change targets, the Lorraines have stopped firing. So I have a little bit of time in order to try and take out this 88. And if I can, it's going to put me in a pretty good spot, because that's 140 points invested in a flak 88. If we go to Cobra's point of view, hopefully we can look at these units. 135 points actually, but still a significant investment. And the M4A3 going to be taking out the Pack 37 there. We've got the mortars taking out the 20mm flak and the MG 34 on the left side, and then I have like all of my mortars now focusing on the Lorraines, as they have pretty much completely revealed themselves. Now these Lorraines made the mistake of actually targeting my M21 rather than the 81mm mortars. Now it's hard for them to identify which ones are ground-based mortars and which ones are vehicle-mounted, but at the same time you want to be focusing the ones that were initially there, and that would be the two that were further back. But with those Lorraines pounded, and I can see they're falling back, I'm going to be continuing to try and get the kill onto the Flak 41. and that's going to be taken out. We're starting to build up now for the push, and I felt like I could get this infantry up to do the job, so we're going for a little infantry charge here with the voltages. At this point I should have unloaded them, but I go a little bit too far because I was hoping that this building wasn't actually, you know, didn't actually have anyone in it. But what I end up doing instead is allowing the Grenadier to use grenades on the half tracks and their 100-meter range engagement on my voltages, which basically ended up in full surrender. So really, really bad play there. Should have unloaded them early, not been so greedy, not tried to take so much ground. However, I do have the mortars on target now. They all have their own little targets, as you can see. And then I have the rest of my tanks still moving up. It's not too much of an issue. I'm trying to get this M10 onto line of sight of this Panzer L6. And the L6 is trying to move down. So what I end up trying to do is get my M10 into position ready to shoot across at the L6. And that's exactly what happens here. So this M10 kind of played a little bit of bait, so that this M10 could get a crossfire onto the L6, and he fell for it. Hook, line and sinker, really. So whoever are moving up here, I tried to move one up on the right side earlier, but these guys are fine. They're just going to have to take the role of the voltages that I just absolutely suicided. And maybe we can make some ground following up. I've got the M4A2 now arriving. The M4A3 is kind of sitting back. The M3A3 is kind of charging forwards. Does have the 330 cals though, so can help pin down Osttruppen very nicely now it's in range. Spey is going to try and move forwards and provide us with some recon, but Osttruppen obviously there going to do quite a lot of damage. Managed to pin them down, and that's going to eventually allow my Spey to fall back. SDKFZ7 does get shot. And I'm going to be moving up my scout car M3. And that's just to drop off some more Spey in the middle to reveal the infantry here. But what ends up happening is the Flak 41. That gets a shot onto the scout. And before I know it, my Spey is dead. So now, thanks to that scout getting blown up, I did immediately retarget my mortars. You can see them hammering the 88 there. My M21 mortar carrier actually ended up dying as well, as it went round the corner to provide 50 cal support, but dispatched that 88 very quickly, and with the mortars landing near that 88, we also end up pinning down the Marder 1 unwittingly, which eventually lets it get killed by the M4A2. A pretty fantastic job so far on this left flank. The armoured play going very, very well. It's not often that I actually focus on armoured warfare like this. You guys know that I'm very much into my infantry-based German decks. But either way, doing very well this time round, using these mortars to the best of their ability. They've got absolutely tons of kills throughout this game. Now Spitfire is flying about. I had that in the airspace just in case some more HS-129s came in. And well, this time round, 3 HS-129s are coming in. They're going to be going for the kill onto the M3A3. Definitely going to be getting that kill. They were all targeted onto the same one by the looks of the thing though, so they end up being forced to fall back. Now my smoke was just in time here. Obviously seeing the HS-129s come in as soon as they spawned allowed me to react with smoke onto my M4A3 and the M10 and keep them alive, which was actually, I was quite chuffed with that play. Like the smoke landed just in front of the M10 and the M4A3, like one smoke round on each, just in time. And we shoot down one of the HS-129s, 2 of them get away. However, my AA is here now, so that should allow me to continue pushing in the future. I've also brought up 2 more infantry squads, 2 voltages with the 30 cal machine guns to help push forwards with the M5A1 half tracks. You can see those Lorraines absolutely savaging that voltages squad. They're going to be bringing up the ME109 G6R6 there, and I'm pretty sure they weren't aware of how much AA I had. So managed to take advantage of that, get my Spitfire Mark 9 on target. Unfortunately not going to get the kill this time, as the Spitfire Mark 9 gets forced to fall fall back before we get the killing blow. But definitely warns them that in the future they won't be freely attacking my tanks on the ground. So loads of 50 cals on target. That's one thing you gotta love about the 2nd Armoured French. They certainly love their reliance on the 50 cals, and I've got a couple more Bofors now coming up because my actual units here on the ground are more than enough to push with. I could do with maybe some more infantry at this point, but in general, in terms of armor, I've got more than I need. So I've just got to protect that now, and that's where the Bofors come in handy. The reason this is enough as well is actually because I've been getting kills the whole time, and if I jump to the neutral perspective, you can see that there's barely anything here, and I pretty much know this. It takes a while to get used to it, but as long as you keep track of your kills, you can start to work out like really how much your opponent has, and in this case it's just a Pack 40 and an Armada 1. And I know that if I kill that, I'm fine, I can carry on. So that's exactly what my mortars are going for right now. We're going for the attack onto the Pack 40, and if I can do some damage to it and pin it down, we can get some more kills. And I managed to break through on this right side and get line of sight onto the Lorraine, so I'm going to be trying to pick off those, and if I do, then that relieves a lot of pressure onto my own mortars in the future. And this Bofors did get pinned down by the enemy Marder there, but fortunately the mortar's coming to the rescue, forcing that Marder back just a little bit to keep the Bofors alive. 50 cals opening up across the board again. Ostrupen and Grenadiers on the edge of those tree lines getting absolutely savaged as my Spey move up. I've now got these two half-tracks joining me, and further to that I've got more infantry on the way alongside an M4A 376mm just in case anything heavier turns up. Since there is a 12th letters player, he might end up reinforcing the left side, but if he doesn't, then we should be in a pretty decent position. So you can see the Pack 43 sort of sneaking about there. This is why I'm bringing up the M5A1s to kind of lead the charge, so they can reveal enemy units, and then I can back up with my tanks before they kill anything important. Now on this left side, Spey are revealed, and you can see the 37mm flak getting on target there at close range, obviously going to do the damage. But with all of that infantry in the tree line destroyed, Spey are going to be able to move up again. Double Spitfire coming onto the Flak 37. I know that that's pretty much the only AA they have left here. So once that's pinned down, you can do the job. Now the other thing is, the M5A1s have acted exactly as I wanted them to, as bait for any AT guns. So the AT gun there is going to take out both of the M5A1s, but at least my M10 and M4A2 are able to fall back just as my Spitfires come in to save the day. So that's what I was looking to do. You can see the off-map coming in there now as well, as Panzer Pioneer was trying to save the day on this left side. Now with the Spitfires having air superiority, we are able to stop the B1 from getting more than one shot at the M10, and we are going to be finishing off that with both of the Spitfires on target. Now my Cannon 57mm over on this right side does get taken out by that emergency off map, and that was unfortunate, but with the Spitfires still in the air, I'm able to just pin down the Pack 41, hit it with the M4A2 as much as I like. The other thing is the M8 Spey is actually taking on the B2 quite easily there, and I did manage to take out one already. On top of all that, M5A1 is arriving with more infantry to join the fight at the front line. So Pack 40's gone down there, another Panzer B2 dead, Marder's dead, HS129 does come in, but we now have the AA to stop that from doing too much damage. There is still 3 Bofors on this left side. Spitfire not really having enough ammunition to do the job there, as you can see. Completely out of ammunition, almost out of fuel, ends up being evac'd. Now the other thing is, we can see the Nueva revealing another Flak 41 on this right side, and Haymaker's going to be using a bunch of command stewards to run that down. We also end up bumping into the speed troop, but at close range, the Nueva do a lot of damage, especially with the 50 cal fire support there. B2 just not good enough to deal with an M4A 376mm and an M10, so that is going to go down. And I wanted to get the shot onto the Pak 43 there, or onto the Lorraine, sorry, but the Pak 43 was in the way. So we're going to have to back away from that for now. I'm going to have to be very careful with these tanks, getting the mortars to fire as quickly as possible. And this Pak 43 was actually aiming at my voltages, and I kind of realized that. So what I was hoping to do was have a couple of the mortar strikes come down, and then I could literally just charge it with the machine guns from the M8, because the M8 with both the 30 cal and the 50 cal on target will be able to kill off the Pak 43 at close range, because it pins it down very quickly. But there finally goes the Lorraine, and there goes my opponent Koba, as he does end up surrendering. There's only 1 minute and 20 seconds left until we gain victory. Battle's pushed through very, very hard on this right side, and we're currently at a 68% territory lead. Haymaker's also pushed through in the mid, since I think Panzer Pioneer actually sent quite a few assets over to my left side. But I'm also breaking through very, very hard here. Last line of defense of Koba absolutely falling apart. Loads of points coming in at the back here from the AI, and it shows just how much he was floating. And it looks like he just choked, I guess, at the end of the day. And just wasn't spending his points, because just look how many units there are there. That's insane. You see that quite a lot, actually, from the neutral perspective. But 30 seconds to go. Captured no Blitz munition. That's going to be sent back to my mortars. The GMC also there to resupply my mortars, since this GMC used up all of its ammunition in this game. That's 10,000 munitions used up. Those mortars picked up a ton of kills and are still alive at this point in the game. Absolutely insane. They survived the whole game, actually. And we're even going to be seeing them off map come in and kill off their own units. I believe that was the AI actually doing an emergency barrage and end up hitting some friendly fire, which was quite funny. But 29 minutes and 10 seconds passed, and that is a total victory. At the end of that one, 2,990 kills to 1,295 losses for myself. Val doing fantastic on the right side with the 2,500 kills to 1,330 losses. And Haymaker holding up the mid with the 2,140 kills to 1,490. Props to our opponents for that pretty fun game. It was really nice to use the second Armoured, and if we jump over to the kills, those mortars definitely shined in this one. LG40, Pak 41, Flak 41, Pak 40, Pak 41, Flak 38, Pak 40, Pak 37. You get the idea. A lot of static units getting absolutely wrecked by those 81mm mortars. They only have 10 HE, but picking up all those kills with their direct fire shots, mainly led by the amount of recon that I had at the start of the game. And that's the biggest reason that mortars get kills, is when you have recon, because they can get corrected shot, which means that their dispersion is a lot less, and they hit the mark a lot more often, and that's where you get your kills. So having all those spy hidden away in my front line definitely helped out with that. Nueva there, taking out 2 Fallschirmjäger and the Fallschirmjäger. We see the Spy didn't do particularly well. M10 managed to pick up a B2 and the Pak 37 in the end, which kind of paid itself off. But this M4A3 coming in, taking out many of the MG34s, took out a Flak 41 itself. This was actually a fire position command. Ended up killing off that Flak 41, because I saw it trying to creep around the edge of the tree line there. When I was a bit panicked, I was like hitting it with the mortars. I put the command in. Obviously, the mortars were taking time to reload though, and I decided to just fire position where it was going to with the M4A3, and as the mortars landed, the M4A3 also fired and ended up getting the kill, which was pretty cool. And this M10 picking up the Panzer L6 and 2 Panzer B2s was nice, and this M4A2 that I brought up cleaned house as well, picking up multiple Marder 1s, took out the Lorraines, pushed forwards very aggressively with the rest of my units, and one of the Spitfires there taking down the HS-129 towards the end. And that's pretty much your lot. So a pretty damn fun game indeed. We took a few losses here and there, that Lorraine savaging my voltages. And I think if they'd used the Lorraines properly to make sure that those mortars were dead, then they would have had a much easier time. But too much reliance on these HS-129s without veterancy, in my opinion, and it ended up costing them the game. But that's all for now, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.